Hey everyone! Welcome back! Today we're diving into the chaotic world of Ro Ghoul on Roblox, where you get to decide if you're a fearsome ghoul hunting humans and powering up your abilities, or if you're joining the CCG, the elite monster hunters sworn to keep the streets safe from these terrifying creatures. Now, if you're rolling as a ghoul, the key to taking over the server isn't just about pure skill, it's about mastering your Kagune. These aren't just any weapons. Kagunes are wild biological powerhouses that can transform into deadly blades, crazy tentacles, and other fearsome forms to slice, dice, and dominate. So, in today's video, we're ranking the top Kagunes in Ro Ghoul, breaking down which ones will turn you into the ultimate nightmare of Tokyo. Whether you're looking for speed, range, or pure destructive power, there's a Kagune out there ready to match your playstyle. We'll be covering the Kagunes you need to get your hands on if you want to go head-to-head with the CCG and rule the server. So sit back, grab some coffee or some human snacks if you're in full ghoul mode, and let's dive into this Kagune tier list. I'm quickly moving on to the video, and I'm ranking Kagunes in Ro Ghoul. Before we start, if you enjoy these types of list videos, don't forget to like the video and subscribe. Enjoy watching! The Kagunes in this tier are, in order from top left to bottom right, Renji Yomo Ukaku, Shutsukiyama Kokaku, and Nishiki Nishio Bikaku. Alright, so let's dive into the real underdogs of Ro Ghoul, the D-tier Kagune. Yeah, I know, D-tier doesn't exactly scream legendary, but sometimes it's good to know where not to invest your RC cells, right? Now, if you're just starting out or maybe curious about some of these lower tier Kagune, let's get into it and see what each of these bring to the table, even if it's more of a wobbly tray. First up, we've got Renji Yomo's Ukaku. Now, don't be fooled by the idea of lightning attacks. It sounds epic, but this one is all flash, no thunder. Renji's Kagune sprouts a pair of clawed hands from your back, which gives off some serious dark mage vibes. But in terms of power, it's pretty limited. Sure, it has this Kakuja transformation that amps up its appearance, making it look like it's gone supercharged, but honestly, the damage just doesn't keep up with the bigger players. It's not the worst for getting up close and personal, but let's be real, it's just not holding up in the long run. Then we've got Shutsukiyama's Kukaku. The elegance is real with this one, as it wraps around your arm and forms this metallic ribbon that can shift into a sword-like blade. You'd think with a design like that, it'd have some major impact, but it's more like a shiny butter knife than a legendary blade. The reach is okay, and yeah, you can do some decent pokes and stabs, but in a game all about survival and fast-paced combat, it doesn't bring enough bite. The fancy appearance will turn heads, but if you're looking to climb the ranks, you'll probably want to look elsewhere. Next on the list, we have Nishiki Nishio's Bikaku. Now, Nishiki's Kagune is actually a pretty balanced one, a decent intro Kagune if you're new to the game. You get a bit of everything here, damage, speed, and defense. It's got this snake-tail aesthetic that looks cool, but it's restricted to close-range attacks. Some of the stages can help you with combo moves in tight spaces, but it's very limited outside that. Plus, if you're up against faster opponents, good luck landing those hits. It's one of the starter Kagune, so it's a solid learning tool, but ultimately, it's going to be the one you outgrow. If there's a theme with these D-tier Kagune, it's that they all have their own unique look, but lack the power needed to be a long-term choice. Whether it's Renji's flashy claws, Tsukiyama's elegant ribbons, or Nishiki's balanced serpent tail, they all give a taste of different playstyles without going full throttle. In a world where you're facing off against some seriously powerful characters, these Kagune are kind of like driving a scooter on a racetrack. Cool, in a vintage way, but not exactly gonna win the race. So there you have it, a look at some of the D-tier Kagune in Ro Ghoul. They're fun to mess around with and have some nice visuals, but if you're really trying to up your game, don't get too attached. Try them out, enjoy the aesthetic, and then maybe think about something with a bit more firepower. The Kagunes in this tier are, in order from top left to bottom right, Yamori, Kotaru Amon, and Tatara. Alright, so let's dive right into the Kagune that, let's be honest, probably wouldn't make it to the top of anyone's wishlist in Ro Ghoul. These are the Kagune that make you say, maybe next time. We're talking about the C-tier gang here, and yeah, they're here for a reason. Sure, each has its quirks and a touch of style, but most of the other Kagune options completely outshine them. If you're someone who's in it for the power, these might not be the ideal choices for your arsenal. But hey, let's see what each of these underdogs has to offer anyway. First up, we've got Yamori, the spiky, grabby, borderline chaotic Kagune that's all about close-range brutality. This Rinkaku Kagune is built for those who love being in your face with opponents. It's got these two gnarly, spike-covered tails, which isn't your typical Rinkaku look, and it's definitely intimidating. Yamori has a grab attack to pull enemies in close, plus a dash move to close the gap if they're just a little too far out of reach. Once you go Kakuja, it's all punches and immobilizing grabs, locking down enemies for some heavy hits. But yeah, it's all about close combat, so if you're up against a ranged fighter, good luck with that one. Then there's Kutaruamon's Kagune, which honestly feels more like a walk down memory lane than a weapon of terror. The Kagune's first stage actually calls back to his days as a CCG investigator transforming into his old Dujima Quinke, which is kinda cool if you're into that whole nostalgia factor. But it doesn't get much better from there. Stage 2 is the first Kakuja form, where he starts looking more like Eto, a fellow ghoul. Stage 3 is just a bigger version, resembling Ito's ultimate form. While it's unique to have this sort of homage to Emon's past, there's a reason it's down here in C tier. It just doesn't keep up with the others when it comes to raw power or versatility. And finally, Tatara's Kagune. Now, Tatara's pretty special, I'll give him that. This guy was a big deal in the Aogiri tree, and his Kagune isn't your everyday tail. It's technically a Bikaku type, but the main selling point? Pseudo-pyrokinesis. Yep, Tatara's RC cells can generate flames in his Kakuja form, making him the only ghoul in the Tokyo Ghoul universe to pull off something like this. It's unique, no doubt, and you'd think that would bump him up in rank, but in practice, the flame mechanic just doesn't pack the punch you'd hope for. So, while you're technically wielding fire, it doesn't set the battlefield ablaze the way you'd want in Ro Ghoul. So, to sum up, these Kagune bring their own styles, histories, and even a few surprises, but they struggle to compete with the heavy hitters up in A and S tiers. Yamori's for the up-close brawlers, Amon's has a touch of nostalgia, and Tatara's packs some flames. They're fun to experiment with, but if you're trying to dominate in Ro Ghoul, you'll probably want to look elsewhere. The Kagunes in this tier are, in order from top left to bottom right, Seidu Takizawa, Kichimaru Washu, Kakujira, and Koshi. Alright, let's dive into the Kagune that aren't the flashiest or strongest, but still pack a bit of punch if you know how to handle them. We're talking about the B-tier Kagune in Ro Ghoul. Think of these as the underdog crew, strong enough to get you through battles, but always secretly hoping you'll switch them out for something a little more powerful if you get the chance. Let's start with Seidu Takizawa's Kagune. If you're a fan of Tokyo Ghoul, this one will ring a bell. Takizawa's got an Ukaku-type Kagune thanks to a Kakuhu from Kuzen that's been implanted in him. What does that mean for you? You're dealing with a Kagune that can shoot out shards like little missiles. In the manga, these shards are no joke. They can even break Quinkes. In-game, it's a handy Kagune to have if you like a mix of ranged attacks and a bit of blade action. Just picture slicing and dicing your way through a stage while firing shards like a mini rocket launcher. Not bad, right? Moving on to Kichimaru Washu, or as some of us know him, Furuta. This guy's Kagune is, let's just say, unique. Derived from Rize's Kakuhu, Furuta's Kagune doesn't look like anything you'd expect. In its first stage, it's this creepy mass with eyeballs popping out of it. Yeah, eyeballs. It's weird, it's wacky, but it's actually useful for manipulating your enemy's positions. With a moderate range, it lets you keep opponents at bay or draw them in close enough for a follow-up attack. It's a Kagune that's all about strategy, so if you like to get a little more tactical, this one's for you. Now, here's one that brings in some monster movie vibes, Kakujira. And yes, it's exactly what it sounds like, a Kagune based on Godzilla. Imagine going Kakuja and transforming into a mini Godzilla with some serious reptilian flair. It's not canon to Tokyo Ghoul, but it's an absolute blast to use. You get that heavy stomping power with a look that screams kaiju every step of the way. Plus, who doesn't want to unleash their inner Godzilla every once in a while? Last but not least, we've got Koshi. This is a Halloween-themed Kagune made just for Ro Ghoul, which is why it looks like it belongs in a haunted house. The design? It's a spine, complete with ribs on each segment, making you look like something that crawled out of the underworld. Koshi might not be the strongest in the game, but the visual alone is worth a try, especially if you're into that whole skeletal aesthetic. Plus, it's pretty rare to come across something so uniquely creepy. So there you have it, the B-tier Kagune lineup. These may not be the game changers that'll make you feel invincible, but they each bring something fun and unique to the table. And hey, sometimes being the underdog isn't so bad. The Kagunes in this tier are, in order from top left to bottom right, Noro, Lycan, and Eto Yoshimura. Alright, picture this. You're in Ro Ghoul, looking to dominate, and you're not just aiming for any Kagune, you want the best, the ones that scream, "Don't mess with me." That's where the A-tier Kagunes come in. These beauties aren't just strong, They're game changers, each with its own unique vibe and abilities that turn the battlefield into your playground. Take Noro, for instance. This isn't just any Bikaku, it's like something straight out of a nightmare. Imagine a long, snake-like Kagune with a massive, toothy mouth on the end, complete with a tongue. Yep, it's not just for show, that mouth can consume food and heal Noro, making him a serious threat and a durable one at that. And if you think that's terrifying, wait until you see his Kakuja, an intense, chaotic mass of mouths and tentacles. This isn't a Kagune, it's a monstrous weapon that's as creepy as it is powerful. Then we have the Lycan, a totally unique creation exclusive to Ro Ghoul, and it's got this dark, Halloween-inspired aesthetic that players go wild for. This Kagune has 2 stages, and when it enters its Kakuja form, you're looking at a full-on werewolf transformation. It's got the versatility to stand on 2 legs or drop to all 4s for a deadly sprint. That adaptability, pure gold in battle. It's like a horror movie brought to life, and the intimidation factor alone is enough to make most opponents think twice. And you can't forget about Eto Yoshimura. If Noro and Lycan weren't enough to scare the daylights out of you, Eto's Ukaku form brings its own kind of nightmare. Initially, her Kagune looks like a single wing with this massive scimitar blade stretching out from her left shoulder. As she levels up, the blades only get more insane, growing larger and sharper, ready to slice through any opponent. Her Kakuja, though, is where she really shines, a full-body monstrous transformation that envelops her in sheer destruction. With each of these A-tier Kagunes, you're not just playing Ro Ghoul, you're redefining the battlefield. These Kagunes bring that extra edge, whether it's through Noro's healing, Lycan's feral agility, or Ito's raw power. It's not just about having a strong Kagune, it's about stepping up as a force to be reckoned with, a true titan of Ro Ghoul. The Kagunes in this tier are, in order from top left to bottom right, Hinami Fueguchi, Tonakai, Tuka Kirishima, and Ken Kaneki. Alright, let's talk about some of the most incredible Kagunes you can wield in Ro Ghoul. Now, when you're out there in Tokyo's chaotic underworld, you don't just want any old Kagune. You want something that's going to dominate, right? Well, the S tier is where the magic happens, and unsurprisingly, we've got a few heavy hitters here, including Kaneki's iconic Kagune. This dude's got main character energy, so of course his Kagune comes in hot as one of the best in the game. But he's not the only one shining up here. Let's dive in. First up, we've got Hinami Fueguchi's Kagune. This one's a real Chimera masterpiece, mixing up the best of both worlds with its Rinkaku and Kukaku Kagune blend. On one hand, you've got the Kukaku, which looks like 2 flower petals that act as shields, giving Hinami some solid defense. Then you've got the Rinkaku, a set of flexible spines that's all about offense. If you're looking for versatility, Hinami's Kagune can give you both protection and power, making her one tough character to beat. Now, let's get a little festive with Tonakai. This Kagune is all about that Christmas spirit, even though it can tear through opponents like nobody's business. Released in 2023, Tonakai has this awesome reindeer meets Krampus design that's pretty much perfect for the holidays, if your holiday plans include wreaking havoc in Tokyo. It's also the first winter-themed Kagune in Ro Ghoul, so it definitely stands out. Imagine decking your opponents in true seasonal style. Then we have Tuka Kirishima's Kagune, a classic fan favorite, and for good reason. Tuka's got an Ukaku-type Kagune that's built for quick hit-and-run tactics. She can blast enemies with crystallized shards from a distance, but don't be fooled, this Kagune works well in close-range combat too. It's one of the 4 starter Kagunes in Ro Ghoul, so you can access it early on and get a feel for her agile, strategic playstyle. Definitely perfect if you're the kind of player who likes to strike fast and dodge out. Finally, we've got Kaneki himself. His Kagune is hands down one of the coolest and most recognizable in the game, with 6 stages that make it a beast in close-range combat. You might already know Kaneki's backstory, the steel beam incident, the organ transplant from Rise, and if you do, you know this Kagune has some serious legacy behind it. Kaneki's Kakuja forms add to his power, turning him into a real force to be reckoned with as you level up. So, if you're looking for raw power and a touch of main character energy, Kaneki's Kagune is exactly where you want to be. These S-tier Kagunes are the cream of the crop in Ro Ghoul, each bringing something unique and powerful to the table. Whether you're looking for versatility, festive flair, hit-and-run tactics, or raw strength, there's a perfect match waiting in this lineup. The video ends here. See you in another video. Don't forget to subscribe.